Hey, it's Arrow, and this is Vocal Defrag. Vocal defragging is asking yourself the questions and then questioning the answers. So often, the majority part of our life is spent asking other people the questions about our life, and then we rely on their answers. I spent many years in the broadcast industry trusting leaders that I hoped would take me to a higher level of play. I trusted other people to be my answer, when in fact, the thing that you miss out on life is the fact that you have the control of your destination. If you ask the questions and question the answers, get control of where you're walking. I do two different types of defragging. I do a journal, handwritten journal, because I believe in seeing the written word. But the problem is with written journals is the fact that when you come back a different day to study, it's a different interpretation. You're not living in the same moment that you were when you put it on paper. And a vocal defrag gives you the opportunity to step into the moment, to hear the inflection, the pitch, the volume, the tone, the emotion. That's what's great about vocal defragging. And the thing about it is, we all have tools on our smartphones that can make that possible. You're going to learn a lot about yourself if you can just take a moment to defrag. This is Vocal Defrag. A question came up in my writing today about journaling. I've been writing in a journal since July of 1994. And it's gone through so many evolutions because you expect to go through changes. But so many people will stop writing in their journals because, well, that's just not me anymore. I was saying things that, just didn't represent my heart, or it just seemed boring because it seemed like I was writing the same thing over and over again. What journaling is, it's a reflection. It's a reflection of your observations, your feelings, your emotions, your personal experiences. Now, the reason why it came up in my daily writing today was because I know that in November of 2017, when I started defragging, one of the main reasons why I got there is because in my journaling, inside these hard-covered books, I stopped asking the questions and questioning the answers. Well, in November of 2017, I had a breakdown, and I've always gone back to those pages before 2017, the month of November, to see what was the breakdown. And what had happened is that my daily writing that I do in the morning, which is usually 3 pages, was not journaling in the way of being a reflection, an observation, an opportunity to share an experience. It had become journaling still, yeah. But those pages were making their way to the podcast. So in essence, when I was writing in the morning, calling it journaling, I was doing it for the podcast. So now let's take this into your own personal life. The things that you say that you do on a daily basis, and you use it as a daily discipline to find your peace, are they for who you are in your moments of solitude? Or is it for public display? I go on and I read social media. I see what people are thinking. They try to write heartfelt things. Or my pet peeve is when they share a really super sad story and it wasn't written by them. But this thing that was posted on Facebook made it look like they did write it. All they did was they forwarded it. Things like that kind of get underneath my skin, because if we truly properly journaled, used it as an observation of what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, we would have a clearer picture of the paths that we're walking. Now, because of the state of the planet right now, with 2 major wars taking place, you can physically see people starting to move inward. They don't want to deal with what is happening. Sales are up like you wouldn't believe. And so therefore, the American economy is going, we're supposed to be in a recession, but people keep buying. No, what we're doing is we're hiding. We're hiding. If we were journal writing, we could speak about it, and we could have that observation, personal expression, and experience to have not only in the moment of now, but to learn from it in the days and years ahead. I was talking with somebody the other day about keeping a journal during the days of 9/11. and how my emotions were so infected by the way that the broadcast industry was changing so quickly. And the reason being is because we had to become better communicators with our community because everything had become shaken up. It wasn't about being just Mr. Happy on the radio. It was about creating a connection so that people would come to us to find out new things and experience and observation, to be more real with them. So when I started doing the Defrag Journal in November of 2017, it was mainly because I wasn't truly journaling anymore. And it's all presently there. You can see that how in 2015, I began a process of trying to evolve into taking things from the daily writing and make it something that I could talk about on a podcast. Basically, I was working for the podcast. I wasn't journaling. So again, I turn to you and I say, the things that you do in your everyday presence, how are you putting yourself into the game? Is it truly you, or are you playing the game? You do things in order to be recognized, to be accepted. When you work out, are you doing it for you, or are you doing it because you want people to look at you? Does it go hand in hand? I'm not so sure that's true. I think that if you're really doing it for you, you don't have to get on the scale every 5 minutes and measure your distance. You know what you're doing when it comes to working out. You know what needs to be accomplished. You know what needs to be in place at what time. And it doesn't feel like a sacrifice, but rather it feels like a normal walk of life. Being a third-degree black belt, that was one of the things that I had to grow into, was this thing called the black belt path. The black belt path is a way of life. It's not about kicking, hitting, punching, taking people down, winning tournaments. It's a way of life. It's the way you think. It's the way that you act and react, the way that you get into your community and you inspire and influence others. Now, is a vocal defrag such as this, is this journaling? I'm going to give you an open heart answer, and that is no, because this is a podcast. Strange, huh? The way that we define things only to learn that we're not really playing by the rules. We're playing by what we think is the rule. Vocal defragging. Try it sometime. Just ask yourself the question and question the answers. It's not that difficult, and you're not shaming your artist self. What you're doing is you're inspiring that inner child within you to be present in their place of now, to give them that stage where they can just be themselves. And when I say they, I mean you. Can you just be you without trying to put yourself on display somewhere, social media, or in the public? That's one of the things that I find so funny is that because I am in the public so much, and I know how people act and react and what their normalisms are versus how they're acting at a particular time, the way they dress, the way they eat, the way that they sip on their sodas. And it's like, wow, are you showing off? Or is this really who you are as a person? We started out by talking about what journaling is, an observation, the experience. Your views of how you do things, why you do things, maybe a view of the world and how you would like to see the world. I think that journaling is probably one of the last great frontiers when it comes to a freedom of speech. The thing is, though, about journaling versus what I do with a podcast is that my freedom of speech could easily be interrupted when I do write for the podcast. But when you keep an honest-to-God written journal where you are doing your observations and sharing your personal experiences and your thoughts and your points of view, what happens is that your truth is in that book. And I believe more than ever that we need to put our truth on the pages. We don't have to rush out there to share them. In fact, I don't suggest you ever do that, because what you think and what you feel is beautiful. It's powerful. It's life-changing. Now, if it is meant to be in the public, then it will come through as a conversation and not necessarily the page inside of a journal. So observe your own observations. Tell yourself that this is a place where if I want to bitch about anything, if I want to change anything, I'm going to start it here And by starting it here, I'm going to watch it grow. Because the one thing that I've learned in being a daily writer since July of 1994, 29 years, if it has a purpose to be out here in the real world, it's going to find its way. But don't let the starting point be on something that you put on display. Let it start in a journal. I'm Arrow, and that's Vocal Defrag.